I power walked down to that pile of gummy bears and back. I should probably set the pile out further, or closer, so I can get at them.
Uh, hey, are we live? Okay. Wow, that was like a huge delay for like Rumble Studios. Okay. What's up, everybody? Dear Lord, we switched to an RTMP for today's show. We usually I was using the what is it, a whip in Rumble Studios for the ingress of OBS. And yesterday it's why is it wow, the studio is like so behind. That's not good at all. Long story short, I switched over to a different ingress coding. Hopefully just for YouTube, since we were gaming yesterday and YouTube was like being very stuttery. But we are back, and you probably saw what we'll be talking about a little bit. But hello, welcome to one of the most professional shows that you will ever see in your entire life, the Power Up Podcast. And it's a show that talks about pop culture, if I can talk. But just ignore that. Just assume that I was speaking like, a full blown announcer. What is going on? Like, why is YouTube not YouTube, but freaking X is being weird? There we go. Dude, everything's garbage. I hate everything. But even that's behind. Dude, whoa, what is up with frickin' Rumble here? It is like so latency. It says dropped frames too. Anyway, welcome to the show. We talk about pop culture, keep our minds up to date, sharp with all that fun stuff, with the goal of hopefully keeping us entertained, reminding us of nostalgia, and, commenting on the good, the bad, and the ugly. So, the big thing we were going to be talking about today is EA laying off a bunch of employees and apparently killing a Titanfall side project or a spinoff. What's up, Patty Quinn over at Rumble? And that's pretty much dead. So EA sucks. So they just apparently just don't want to make money or anything. We'll look into that. We've got a bunch of other articles here as well, ranging from some basic video game information, some Borderlands information, Ghost of Yote. And actually, I just remembered there's a funny article about when you think of the anti-piracy commercial, like you wouldn't steal a car and stuff. Well, apparently, possible that the font that they used was a stolen font. So the ultimate irony at its best. Let me slap that into here. There we go. So let's hop into this. And I might have to step away for a little bit because I was supposed to have groceries that should have been arrived at this point. We had this set up way in advance. But apparently, they're slacking. Seems like everything's fallen behind. And I don't like it. But let's hop into it, shall we? Well, bam. So you probably saw a glimpse of it when apparently I was like trying to see what was happening on my end. And we've got Sucker Punch here. Comes from Fandom Pulse. Apparently, Sucker Punch confirms that the ghost of Yote protagonist is not a samurai. How's about that, huh? Who saw this coming? Who saw this coming? I sure as heck didn't. But the ghost of Yote directors recently confirmed that the game's main protagonist is not a samurai. No one asked for this protagonist, by the way. We would have loved to have seen more of Jin, but nope. His story's done, apparently. Oh my goodness. Heaven forbid you draw it out a little bit longer. Jeez. Ridiculous. So in an interview with Famitsu, the game's directors Jason Connell and Nate Fox revealed that Atsu is not a samurai. In response to a question about whether or not there would be weapons similar to those used by the Mongols in Ghost of Tsushima, Fox shared, again, they are not only melee weapons, but also bows and weapons that can be thrown to attack. Also, Atsu is not what we call a samurai, so she does not value the honor of a warrior. But the whole thing of Ghost of Tsushima was that you used like kind of dirty tactics, like poisoning stuff that was not honorable. So this makes no sense. What's up, Jordan? Over on YouTube. Therefore, she fights using whatever is available on the spot. Atsu, for example, through defeating an enemy, can throw the weapon dropped by the enemy at other enemies. Okay. The duo also shared how Atsu not being a samurai is reflected in the story. First, they noted how Atsu is motivated by revenge, even though there was a side story of revenge in Ghost of Tsushima. But, I like a good revenge story. The main character, Atsu, has suffered a traumatic childhood and sets out on a journey of revenge to avenge it. How many times in the sentence will they say revenge or avenged? Atsu is bent on revenge, but she overcomes her trauma not only by avenging herself, but also through the story. The story of revenge is exacted upon the Yote 6, Kano explained. Atsu has a grudge against the Yota 6. She sets out on a journey of revenge to slay them all. Atsu returns to the place where she was born and where she was traumatized, and she begins to feel that her mission is to take revenge, biting each of the things she had lost. Why does this article feel so weirdly typed? I have no idea, but we'll just continue. In fact, she keeps a list of the people she exacts revenge upon on her sash. Fox detailed that belt is Atsu's so-called avenging list. The Yota Rokunin also have many subordinates, such as opposition parties. As she bravely fights against these outlaws, rumors gradually spread that she is a grudged spirit. The belt is very important to her. Why do dude, doesn't this feel, if this person really said all this, I feel like you're literally explaining the game before anybody can play it. The belt is very important to her, and no matter which outfit she changes, she always wears the belt. Connell added, please stay tuned for more information on her attire. Well, no one asked about the attire, but okay. As for how this theme of revenge will play out, Fox revealed, at first she is bent on revenge, so her goal is to absolutely slay the Yota 6. You literally, we got the gist of it, up above. But through her encounters with people, Atsu gradually learns that there is another purpose to life than revenge. Fox would also share in the interview that during Atsu's journey, she, quote, will meet many different people throughout the story. These people may teach her something or help her. Among them, there's an encounter with a wolf. Through these encounters, Atsu becomes stronger both physically and mentally. Atsu is like a lone wolf at first, but through encounters with people, her mind gradually changes. She may also gain new weapons or be taught new fighting techniques, he added. And then what do you make of Fox and Connell's comment about Atsu's story of revenge and that she won't be a samurai? My big thing is, like, I felt like a lot of the game literally got explained to me in this interview. So that seems a little anticlimactic, if you will. As for not being a samurai, sounds dumb. I think a lot of people wanted to continue Ghost of Tsushima's main character, Jin, I believe is his name. Been a while since I played it. And ultimately, again, no one really asked for this at all. No one asked for this game to, like, go tell a whole new character story. And these people are trying to be like, oh, I think, no, we told a story. It was all good. It's like, no, you guys could have gone a lot more with it, but you chose not to. And why you chose not to, I don't know. We have an idea, but yeah. Okay, what the heck? Rumble's chat is not showing up at all in the live chat. Oh my gosh. Dude, Rumble Studios, what the heck are you doing, you piece of garbage? It's like everything is just sucking today, and I do not like it at all. Well, there's that. That was from Fandom Pulse. We do have another article here for Video Game Chronicle that Sucker Punch... That Sucker Punch shares new Ghost of Yoda details as the game's non-linear campaign is explained. So it looks like it'll be released in October. The game's co-creators... All right, so it looks like we kind of got the same thing here. I wonder if it's literally what we just read. Yeah, it kind of looks like it. Oh, wait, no, there's a little bit more here. But we got the sash. We have received cooperation from various advisors. Fox and Cornell visited the game's settings, which today is known as the prefecture of Hokkaido, excuse me, to research the game. We have received cooperation from various advisors regarding the depiction of the Ainu people in the Ainu culture of the time, said Fox. Like with the previous game, we have also thoroughly researched Japanese culture and incorporated it into this project. You know what would have been nice if you would have just stuck with the first game that you did? Because a lot of people wanted more of it. That would have been nice, but, you know, apparently not. You got to get that woman power in there. Brunel concurred, saying, I also went to Hokkaido to research the Ainu people, and had people knowledgeable about the Ainu culture introduced me to museums and folk crafts, which I incorporated into the worldview of this work. By the way, I also went to the mountains with them and had the experience of picking wild vegetables. Players will be able to approach the Yoda 6 in any order, and the game will also introduce new close combat weaponry. Both Japanese cinema and Western dramas have inspired the game. I mean, that's pretty cool. I like me a good Western. But I feel like there are better games than this one. Specifically, like, again, the biggest issue a lot of people had with this is that they felt that Jin's story was wrapped up pretty quickly. Or, like, there could have been so much more to expand upon, but they're trying... What did they say? This is like 500 years after? Thought I remember reading about that at one point. Yeah, Jin Sakai. That's right. Jin Sakai. I thought his name was Jim. So, in terms of an open world adventure, Ghost of Yote has the greatest freedom and biggest map of any open world game we have ever made, Fox told Famitsu. Ghost of Yote will be released on the PS5 on October 2nd, 2025. Sucker Punch has released a new trailer for the game. Okay, alongside the release date announcement, which you can view below. You mean click this link? Because I'm not seeing it below. Sucker Punch has also announced a collector's edition of the game. The packed edition includes all of the pre-order bonuses, all in-game items from the digital deluxe edition, and a digital copy of the game, as well as a replica display edition of Atsu's Ghost Mask. The mask is built to scale with Jin's mask from our Ghost of Tsushima collector's edition. Wait, you don't get any physical copy of the game? That's dumb. Oh my gosh. Yeah, they're definitely pushing the digital media. That's stupid. Oh my gosh. They really do not want you to own any of your games. You go digital, go try to get it on like GOG where you can download the installers and all that stuff. At least they try to let you have the game so you could play it offline and not have their own like software in order to run it, unlike Steam, where you have to have Steam installed. Ridiculous. All right, well, there is some Ghost of Yote information for you. If hopefully that suits your fancy, I guess. If you enjoy it, you can go check it out, and if not, then don't do it. I probably won't get this anytime soon. Maybe when it's on like a cheap, on sale or something like that, but I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens as the date gets closer. So, Borderlands. So, if anybody's interested in Borderlands, I enjoy. I think I beat one, and I say I think because like I'm scratching my head here because I remember playing it in college, but I can't remember if I continued with it. I tried and I kind of gave up afterwards. I don't know what about it, but I don't know. But in any case, Borderlands 4 release date has been moved up to early in September. Publisher 2K and developer Gearbox Software have announced they moved the release date up for Borderlands 4, their new sequel set for multiple platforms. It's launching a bit earlier that its original release date of September 12th across Windows PC, Xbox Series XS, the Switch 2, and the PlayStation 5. Borderlands 4 is the most ambitious Borderlands to date, lovingly handcrafted by the development studios that first forged the looter shooter genre. The title involves the series' gameplay and storytelling in new ways while delivering on the quintessential Borderlands experience fans know and love. And then you got a list of what it all includes. This comes from a Niche Gamer, by the way. So, I guess that's it. It looks like it got bumped up to, I guess what they said, September 12th. I don't know what it was originally set to. But if you guys are interested in checking out Borderlands, there you go. It's coming September 12th. So I saw this at Video Game Chronicle, and I thought it was funny. Baldur's Gate 3 director says his studio isn't interested in making DLC because, quote, it's boring. Happy player, happy business, but you also need to have a happy developer, Sven Vink says. So, Larian Studio CEO Sven Vink has shed more light on why the studio chose not to make DLC for Borderlands, for Baldur's Gate 3. Vink, who directed the game, was discussing game mods with GameSpot when he stated that Larian is, quote, not in the DLC business. When asked to speak more about this, he explained that while conventional wisdom would suggest that making DLC for a game as successful as Baldur's Gate 3 would lead to more financial success, the studio just wasn't interested in making it. It's boring, he said. Really, the honest answer is we tried to be in the DLC business. This was talked about with Baldur's Gate 3, but just there's no passion. I mean, happy player, happy business, but you also need to have a happy developer for a happy player. And what we're doing now makes developers way more happy. Link explained that while Larian was previously happy to go with the usual process of making DLC following a successful game, the team eventually realized it didn't want to. Now, let me know what you guys think. Is this like a good excuse to not do a DLC, or is this just laziness? Now, a lot of companies and a lot of games nowadays will get released and then they do patches to like fix whatever. And then sometimes those patches will be a DLC. So let me know what you guys think. I mean, I tip my hat to them if they think it's like, yep, we're happy with the game, it's done, it's complete. We don't want to add anything more, that's fine. This is what we were supposed to do, right? He explained, oh, we got a huge game, huge hit. We've got to make DLC this and DLC that and DLC there and DLC there. And the money's going to pile up all high. And we just nodded and said, yeah, we'll make DLCs. And then the moment that we had some time to think, we realized, what are you doing? Progressive insight is not a bad thing. So sometimes you go down the wrong path and then you say, oh, fuck it, and just change course, pardon my French, and just do something else. Larian confirmed last year that it had moved on from Baldur's Gate 3 and was now focusing on 2 new projects based on its own IPs. Baldur's Gate will always have a warm spot in our heart, he said back at the time. We'll forever be proud of it, but we're not going to continue it. Yeah, so like why even bring up the idea of a DLC if back then you even said, yeah, we're not doing anything else. We're done. We're not going to make a new expansion, which everybody's expecting. We're not going to make Baldur's Gate 4, which everybody is expecting us to do. We're going to move on. We're going to move away from D&D, and we're going to start making a new thing. Now, that I disagree with. I'd love to see a Baldur's Gate 4 as well, because I like the Baldur's Gate series, but I've said before, I played Baldur's Gate 3. I will say that the charm of Baldur's Gate 1 and 2, I didn't really feel that in Baldur's Gate 3. So it'd be nice if someone else picked it up, and it'd be really cool if they kind of went back into that old school time, if possible, using current D&D, I guess, 5e rulings. But then again, we're seeing on how D&D is going, so maybe it'd be best to end it on a game that did well with Baldur's Gate 3. A lot of unnecessary debauchery in there compared to like the other ones, which if anything was in text format, you didn't really see anything. They felt the need to show some stuff in here, but you can just skip it. But yeah, it'd be interesting to see Baldur's Gate 4. But hey, if they don't want to do it, that's fine. Maybe someone else could do it. Hopping on over to Tech for Gamers. So I saw this pop up yesterday. Sweet Baby employee says Doom, The Dark Ages feels like a step down from the previous entries. Now, the way they have this title, that should just explain everything. We almost don't even need to read the article because this just explains it all. So if you're saying if an Sweet Baby Inc. employee is saying one thing, then it's probably the opposite, and it's going to be really good. But we will read it. So Doom: The Dark Ages is one of the most anticipated upcoming titles of the year. While the early previews have all been very positive, calling it peak modern-day gaming for the series, one preview labels the title a step down from the previous entry. A former Sweet Baby Inc. employee in their preview for Doom: The Dark Ages says that the title doesn't stack up to modern releases and feels like an Xbox 360 title in a negative way, to which a lot of people probably could make a counter argument and go, well, a lot of 360 games were pretty good back in the day, and the way the modern games are going nowadays, this might be like really good. This is the only preview that calls the game underwhelming, whereas all the rest praise it for brilliant visuals and excellent gameplay. Well, again, this should explain everything, but Kazuma Hashimoto, who has previously worked with Sweet Baby as a, quote, narrative design consultants, oh gosh, recently got hands-on with the game. Doesn't seem to be too impressed with it. Says the entry strips everything that made Doom great. He says that Doom: The Dark Ages doesn't borrow the fast-paced, blood-pumping combat with strong metal music from the previous game. Instead, it feels sluggish and resembles a cheap copy of other action games. Can he name said action games, though? Does he give an example? The preview further states that the gameplay is reminiscent of Xbox 360 era action games, which were often clunky and rough around the edges. The visual and creatures also fail to inspire confidence. However, an in-progress game will undoubtedly have rough edges. Additionally, all other previews indicate that the combat is fluid and the visual looks amazing, which makes the statement quite contradictory and confusing. Nonetheless, the game is set to release on May 15th, so it's coming up. So the wait won't be long. Yeah, let's click this really quick. Well, right there, this also tells you something too. Rolling Stones. Get out of here. Can we actually see him what does he actually say? Doomslayer was a slave to capital. Oh, gosh. Seeks to explain the lore of the franchise. Again, okay. Cheap copy of decidedly not named Doom. Relying on dodge and parry mechanics that feel at home in a Souls-like, this upcoming title by id Software is looking to reinvent the core gameplay of Doom that has defined the series in recent years. And the result is both lackluster and confusing. This is the guy's actual article. I should have suspected as much too, like coming from Rolling Stone. But I just want to see what So he mentions Souls-like, but he's talking about like games back from like feeling like a 360 game. So I'm trying to see like what game he can name that makes it feel. Let's see. Design in Doom The Dark Ages feels uninspired. It's pseudo sci-fi medievalism done in a way that feels somewhat like Doom, with skin-crawling abominations fusing steel and flesh, but the creations feel less inspired than the classic nightmare fuel of the series. Okay, again, you're not really naming. Trying to find out here. Here we go. However, it's reminiscent of Xbox 360 shooters from the mid-2000s, experimentally hollow, clunky, rough around the edges, and full of unrealized potential, like one of the later Gears of War games made well past the series' heyday. Well, Gears of War 1 through 3 is amazing. And even Judgment Day was good too. So I don't know what this guy's talking about. I was actually curious if he was going to name Gears, because I'm thinking, and I'm like, dude, he better not try to like associate Gears. Like if he's referring to like 4 and Beyond or something like that. I heard those games suck, but you know. So that's what his example was. Gears. Oh gosh. Yeah. Well, we're not gonna read this whole thing because we get the gist of how he feels about that too, and the fact that Sweet Baby Inc. is associated with him in any way, shape, and form. Tells all we need to know. Tells us all to need to know. Speaking of a soul-like game, Elden Ring has sold over 30 million copies, From Software says. The best-selling FromSoft game ever. Nice. Milestone was claimed in a post on the game's official X account, along with the image saying, "Thank you, 30 million tarnished." An accompanying message reads, "Dearest Tarnished, we are profoundly thankful for your lasting devotion. May your path be forever guided by the grace of gold." Released in February of 2022, Elden Ring is comfortably From Software's biggest commercial hit. For comparison, as of March 2024, the entire Dark Souls trilogy had sold around 40 million copies. It would appear its 30 million sales are set to be boosted even further with the news earlier this month that Elden Ring will be released on Nintendo Switch 2 later this year. Announced during the Nintendo Switch's 2 Direct, the game will be released as the Tarnished Edition. There you go. Elden Ring has received one expansion, Shadow of the Erd Tree, which I haven't played yet. I have played Elden Ring. Boy, that game got me really salty. I don't know if I'm ready to play another Soul-like game. Excuse me. Man, I am yawning like crazy. Ugh. I need to wake up. Which was released to massive acclaim and is currently the highest rated DLC of all time, according to a review exaggeration site or aggregation site Metacritic. I like how I said exaggeration. Shadow of the Erd Tree is an incredible expansion and a worthy follow-up to the generation's best game, VGC said in its review. A multiplayer spin-off, Elden Ring Night Train, will also be released this year. Based on the world of Elden Ring, Night Rain ditches the lengthy single... Did I say Night Train? Yeah, I think I did. Night... Oh, they forgot the G in this one. And then that one... Okay, ditches the lengthy single-player adventure for a fast-paced co-op action game with roguelike elements. Each run takes place over 3 nights, meaning a total time of around 30 to 45 minutes. And my stuff is here. I shall be right back in just a second. Hold on. All right, we're back. Look at that. Pulled everything away super quick. All right. So each player runs the map that's continually getting smaller, battle royal style. Oh, okay. Players either alone in a group or in a group of 3 chooses one of 8 classes and have to survive all 3 nights, accumulating in a final boss fight. And it will be released May 30th. Oh, wow. So it is coming up quick. Very nicely done. But yeah, shout out to Elden Ring. That's awesome. That is awesome. So hopping on over to that park place, I found this to be an interesting article here. Is Disney's Andor quietly glorifying Stalin and the Soviet Union? BBC makes uncomfortable discovery about show's plot. Methinks probably. So, welcome back. Thanks, Patty. I will not at all be surprised if that is actually the case. That is hilarious. Sorry, I'm just drinking water. I'm thirsty, apparently. So, according to a detailed write up by the BBC, Disney's gritty Star Wars series, Andor, may have taken more than just inspiration from history. It may have quietly adapted the early exploits of one of the 20th century's most infamous political figure, Joseph Stalin. Yes, that's Stalin. I should have a Norm Macdonald clip where Stalin, when he calls Adam Egan a Holocaust denier. Revelation stems from an in-depth BBC feature tracing the real-world origins of Andor's heist arc, in which Cassian Andor and a ragtag band of rebels steal a massive payroll from an Imperial garrison on the remote planet Aldhani. Turns out that plot is directly inspired by the 1907 Tiflis bank robbery, a brutal, chaotic theft carried out by Bolshevik revolutionaries under the command of a young Luseb Jogsavili, better known later as Joseph Stalin. Huh. The real robbery occurred in Yerevan Square in what is now Tbilisi, Georgia. Stalin's crew detonated explosives, staged diversions, and walked away with a fortune intended for the Russian state bank. According to the BBC, the operation left devastations in its wake and funded revolutionary efforts for years. The parallels between this event and Andor's Aldhani arc aren't subtle. In fact, Tony Gilroy, the creator of Andor, has openly admitted the connection. You look at a picture of young Stalin, isn't he glamorous? He looks like Diego, Gilroy said in a 2022 interview with Rolling Stone, referring to actor Diego Luna, who plays Cassian Andor. But this isn't just a matter of aesthetic coincidence, Gilroy cites young Stalin by historian Simon Sebag Montefiore as an influential source, calling the book amazing in its depiction of the Tiflis heist and, quote, incredible movie sequence. Sure. Montefiore himself told the BBC he never expected his historical research would feed into a Star Wars series, but noted the similarities between Stalin and Andor, young man from nowhere with a revolutionary mindset and a cause against a sprawling empire. This raises a much larger question. Is Andor functioning as ideological messaging? Oh, absolutely. At this point, with the way Disney's Star Wars is going, and you know, you got Disney, and then there's Walt Disney. Like, yeah, because they are trying their best to hold on to that. Now, I think they're starting to kind of regress back, especially with the Gina Carano lawsuit. But yeah, at this point, I just assume. I just assume. I'm like, yep, there's probably some message in there that they're trying to paint, kind of like in the recent Devil May Cry Netflix adaptation, how they want you to feel sorry for the demons. Demons just can't be evil for evil's sake, even though that's literally their nature. Scripture wise, when Jude talks about the angels leaving their proper state, their proper dwelling place, their oikoterion, the Greek word being, that means that they shedded their being in terms of committing heinous acts to mankind, specifically mating with the daughters of man and lusting after them. They were the Watchers. And Russ Dizdar, someone who has passed away recently, and I kind of study his stuff a little bit when I can. He points out the fact that they've changed their entire being, in other words. So when it says that they're evil, my friends, down to their actual being. And they chose to change themselves that way. So you don't have any remorse. Anyway, getting back to this. While the show doesn't explicitly preach, its creative backbone is rooted in real-world revolutionary tactics and figures. Consider Luthen Rael, played by Stellan Skarsgård. He's a wealthy collector with an iron will, manipulating rebels and sacrificing lives to achieve his goals. According to the BBC, Luthen serves as an analog for Vladimir Lenin, the man who empowered Stalin because he was willing to get his hands dirty. So this is the guy. He literally looks like he's wearing a Dante-like coat from Devil May Cry. So when a Disney Plus show wraps such characters in moral ambiguity and downplays their historical inspiration, viewers are left with a version of rebellion that looks an awful lot like the rise of authoritarian revolutionaries. Gilroy's depiction isn't subtle. Andor doesn't just borrow from history, it recasts its stylizing dangerous methods as noble struggles. As they always do, make no mistake, they always do that. See, this is the point where you need to realize that these people purposely rewrite history to always paint themselves as the glorious people who are doing the right things for the sake of the greater good. Now, of course, it's their version of the greater good. But this happens every time. Every single time. That's why I never really believe any of them, personally, my tank. You know their actions by their, the fruits that they yield. You know who they are as people. And when it weirdly seems that every time history comes up and there's always like, well, these people were always the good guys.
This guy must be a fag.
These people were the bad guys. And then when you find out that that's a lie, then they'll do the whole, oh, there was a great switch. So back in the day, this really meant that. So they're always painted as the good people now and forevermore, It's worth asking why the creative team behind Andor and the folks over at Disney and Lucasfilms found Stalin's story not only usable, but inspirational. Worth asking. I might have an answer to that. And the answer might be it's because they believe it. And also, they're a bunch of fags. That could be another reason as well. Well, this is where selective memory creeps in. Certain historical narratives are treated with nuance and artistic flair, while others would be universally condemned. And when a company like Disney still branding itself as a family-friendly, yeah, that's the other thing too. Yeah, like, isn't Andor the same thing that they're doing when they're all clapping about how it had like a sexual assault take place or something? They're all cheering about it, like, "Oh wow, it's such a pivotal movement." And it's like, are you applauding sexual assault? That's a really weird. Like, you freaks. What are you doing? Keep in mind, family friendly. Builds one of its most celebrated adult-oriented stories on the early crimes of a future Soviet dictator. It signals more than just a creative risk. It signals an ideological comfort zone. Yup. BBC's investigation is not a hit piece. It lays out the facts. Gilroy himself is enthusiastic about historical research and has read nonfiction almost exclusively for the past 15 years. That passion shows in Andor's realism, which critics have praised, but that realism has a cost as the show begins to mirror not just the structure of revolution, but the mindset that rationalizes them. Viewers are shown a system so corrupt and exploitative that every act against it becomes justified. Even sabotage, manipulation, and betrayal are refrained from necessary tools of liberation. In the real world, those same tools laid the foundation for totalitarian regimes. Stalin didn't rise to power in a vacuum. He rose on the back of a revolution built on previously the kind of tactics Andor lionizes. The final episode of Andor's first season hint at this complexity. Luthen confesses that he sacrificed everything, his soul, his life, his decency, for a sunrise he'll never see. It's poetic, it's powerful, but it's also chilling, because history tells us what often follows those sunrises, what comes next after the revolution is won. How many times did the French have revolutions that, and the cycle just repeated over and over and over? That's why you apply Sung Soon, the Art of War. Just, you hit them so hard and so damaging that they don't even dare retaliate, right? Till the good Lord, till the good Lord comes back and just starts smiting everybody. That's the real question Andor rises. Is rebellion always righteous, or are we watching the stylish rehabilitation of a story we should be far from cautious about celebrating? That is a tricky question, because certainly some rebellions are indeed righteous, while other ones are not. Now, again, we know who these type of people are that's been running Disney, and then have these ideologies. We've seen them, and they are not good people. But we can be pretty confident about that. Thanks to the BBC report, we now know this inspiration. The next question is, should we be cheering for it? One of those things where, Stalin and Hitler, it's like two sides of the same coins. Same coin. But there you go. That was from that Park Place. So interesting article. I thought it was interesting. I have no interest in watching Andor, by the way. Although, oh man, I feel like I've been feeling like, as much as I don't want to, like, it would be kind of funny to like kind of start a new series where we hate watch or hate play video games. But I'd have to go out of my way to make sure that they don't get any sort of money from me. you know? All right, we have a couple more articles here, at least 4, which they're probably will say the same thing. But we do have one more article that I think is funny. But we're at the one where I'm a little salty about, and that is, of course, EA. They have laid off a bunch of employees, 300 to 400 from what I've read. And because of that, some stuff got canceled, and that, of course, includes Titanfall Extraction, or a Titanfall type of extraction shooter, possibly a side series. Ted Cruz, Zodiac Killer, says, hot take, Stalin was actually based. He cleared the party of
Gay.
Jewish influence. Ask yourself why Stalin is always portrayed as an evil tyrant, but Marx and Lenin are always idealistic hero. What are you, Adam Egan? I don't know a whole lot about the other people, like, Karl Marx, Lenin. Like, I don't know super much about that stuff. They all sound pretty, at the end of the day, they all seem pretty gay to me. All I care about at this point is the good Lord coming back. That's all I care about. And, start setting the world right. So Titanfall extraction shooter canceled. Third Star Wars Jedi still on track as EA downsizes Respawn Entertainment. So this article might show it too. Like I said, I got one from Bounding Into Comics here. We've got one from Niche Gamer, another one from Fandom Pulse, and then Tech for Gamers. So this might be a lot of repeating stuff. But we haven't read one from Bounding Into Comics yet, so let's see what this has to say. It's a rare case of heartbreak for those finding themselves suddenly unemployed. Oh, I can relate to that. And a bullet being dodged. As the Western video game industry continues to struggle, EA has announced that they will be taking an axe to Respawn Entertainment. And I just clicked out of that, sorry. EA has announced that they will be taking an axe to Respawn Entertainment, and doing so cutting numerous jobs in any development on a purported Titanfall extraction shooter, gay as hell, and instead focusing on their... Dutch X says, I wouldn't invite them to dinner. Yeah, I probably wouldn't either. EA has announced that they will be taking an axe to Respawn Entertainment, and doing so cutting numerous jobs in any development on a purported Titanfall extraction shooter. 'Tis a sad day. This staffing shakeups was first confirmed by the studio on the morning of April 29th via a statement issued on their official Twitter account. And yeah, here's the picture that they posted. At Respawn, bold ideas, creative risks, and passionate storytelling have always defined who we are. Their update began. That spirit has carried us through incredible highs and sometimes through difficult changes too. As we sharpen our focus for the future, we've made the decision to step away from 2 early stage incubation projects and make some targeted team adjustment across Apex Legends and Star Wars Jedi. You fools! Russian history is pretty interesting if you want to dive deep. Lots of different races, ethnicities, and religions in that area. I mean, I from like from the books I'm reading right now, talks about like the cultures around, Babylonian, Mesopotamian, and I haven't gotten to the Russian part yet, but it's the Genesis 6 conspiracy books. I've had author Gary Wayne on. We talk about his research and stuff. He has some insane stuff there. Anyway, so these decisions aren't easy, and we are deeply grateful to every teammate affected. Their creativity and contributions have helped build Respawn into what it is today. Yeah, so much so that you haven't listened to any of the people that were asking for Titanfall 3, which guarantee would make some good money. But nope. Got to continue Apex Legends and Star Wars Jedi. We're offering meaningful support to those impacted, including exploring new opportunities. I wonder if they are worried about tariffs. So the only thing I know about the tariff situation with the video game industry is with Nintendo's the Nintendo Switch 2 prices. Is that they were trying to say that the reason why they hiked everything is that they were preparing for the tariffs. But yet a lot of the I think the actual Switch consoles are made in Vietnam, and Vietnam was like one of the first countries to meet Trump to negotiate tariffs with. So they don't really have that excuse anymore. And then of course people try to go back to like back in the 90s and stuff and be like, oh, it was around this price too. And I don't know about that. But This is just one of the many studios that have constantly laid off many people working in the video game industry. So this isn't just because of the possible tariff problem happening. Like, this has been happening way before that. We're offering meaningful support to those impacted, including exploring new opportunities within EA. Looking ahead, our commitment to player-first experiences remains unchanged. Innovation has always been at the core of Respawn's identity, and it continues to drive how we build the future, from evolving live experiences to crafting new worlds and stories. For Apex Legend, that means not just delivering competitive, innovative seasons, but expanding what Apex can be. While the team will continue to refine gameplay and bring new ideas to upcoming seasons, we're also investing in what's next for the franchise, exploring bold experiences that pushes the boundaries of competitive play while staying true to the spirit of the competitive creativity and integrity that our community expects. Then the Star Wars universe, we're expecting to keep building new stories with the next chapter of the Star Wars Jedi series, aiming to raise the bar again for storytelling and gameplay. That's the thing, though, is that the first Star Wars Jedi was pretty good, and then the second one didn't do well. That's the thing. But here you guys are, and this is what I don't get too. Why even do any of the projects you were working on? This is like, it's like Scalebound all over again. We're working on this project, and then all of a sudden it's just like, blah. Is it true they are jacking game prices just because they can? Yes. Yeah, it is. And the unfortunate thing is that a lot of people who like Nintendo will go ahead and just buy it anyway because it's Nintendo. Because they know people will play it. All the big players, not just Nintendo. Well, the big thing is that Nintendo is, this has been talk for a while because games have slowly been bumping up to 60 to 70, and now they're trying to bump it up to 80. And what a lot of people are worried about is that when Nintendo does this and they see how well it sells, other companies are going to follow suit. And the big problem that's happening with the video game industry is that a lot of people are not happy with the modern games that are taking place because there's a lot of ideology being inserted into franchises and series that no one asked for. And they're also trying to push it to where they don't want you to physically own anything. They want you to digitally own everything, which I don't mind, but I want to actually own it, not just rent it. Because companies have done so in the past to where they'll, they turn out they don't like certain ideologies or certain thoughts that you have. They could just one day go, oh, we're just going to unplug your library so you don't have anything anymore. To everyone who has been part of the journey, past, present, and future, thank you for making Respawn what it is. The studio ultimately concluded, we carry your legacy with us into everything we create next. Notably, while Respawn Entertainment did not provide any details on the nature of the two early-stage incubation projects that have been canceled, Bloomberg's Jason Schreier reports that, per his inside sources, one of them, codenamed R7, was an extraction shooter set in the Titanfall universe, while the other was an unidentified game that has already been canceled earlier this year. Relatively new genre, extraction shooter presents players with a gameplay loop that revolves around dropping into a given map, looting both the areas and their defeated enemies for loot, and successfully reach an exit point with as much of your haul and health as you can manage to hold on to. Example of such titles included the Borderlands, Tom Clancy's The Division, and Destiny franchises. Man, Destiny went downhill for sure. And then I never played Tom Clancy The Division. I tried getting into Borderlands, and it was just like, eh. Among Us says EA's motto, it's in the game. Pretty much. According to Schreier, roughly 100 total devs will be let go from Respawn Entertainment. Their job cuts coming as part of a larger initiative by EA to eliminate around 300 to 400 total positions. Pressed for comments, EA spokesman Justin Higgs said of the layoffs, as part of our continued focus on our long-term strategic priorities, we made select changes within our organization that more effectively aligns teams and allocates resources in service of driving future growth. It's always allocations, every time. Now they're only a shell of themselves. Yeah. Man, Titanfall was awesome. And they nailed it with Titanfall 2, and then just, that's it. At current, Respawn and EA have yet to announce either an official title or release date for Cal Kestis' third Star Wars Jedi outing. All right, so that was Bounding into Comics article. I'm wondering if any of the other ones. Electronic Arts lay off a number of staff, cancels early game. While exact numbers of layoffs weren't shared, the companies confirmed they've stepped away from 2 early-stage incubation projects, which have affected some targeted team adjustments across Apex Legends and Star Wars Jedi. So this is probably what we literally just read. Okay, so Niche Gamer doesn't have a whole lot of new info. Okay. And then Phantom Pulse also showcasing 300 to 400 positions, including around 100 at Respawn, according to a person familiar with the cuts. You also know that an extraction shooter set in the Titanfall world, codename R7, was scrapped. Man, it'd be sweet if someone could just leak that so we could just see what they were planning. See, I played a little bit of Apex Legends like a couple years back. And then aside from that, like, I have heard nothing about Apex Legends. See, this is the thing, is that these series, I don't really hear anything big happening about them anymore. Like, I always hear about Fortnite. Like, recently they just made skins for frickin' Jay and Silent Bob and Seth Rollins. Or not Seth Rollins, that's the wrestler. Or what's his... Why am I drawing a blank? Seth, Fortnite, Seth. Oh my gosh, why? Everyone like Seth Rogen? Seth Rogen, there we go. Dear Lord, I had a huge brain fart there. And everyone's making fun of it because it's like, oh, you know, the weed culture jokes that you saw back in the day, like, you know, Pineapple Express, Super Bad, or whatever. It's like, do people even find that funny anymore? I never understood it. Like, yeah, we laughed like the first time we see it, and then it's the same thing over and over. Like, they just released skins of those guys for Fortnite. It's like, did anyone ask for that? No. But then again, there's been a lot of skins no one's asked for in Fortnite. So these layoffs come in wakes of layoffs at BioWare following the company's release of Dragon Age: The Veilguard, which was a commercial failure. Yep. At the end of January, BioWare General Manager Gary McKay announced the layoffs at the company. He said, given the stage of development, we don't require support from the full studio. We have incredible talent here at BioWare. So we have worked diligently over the past few months to match many of our colleagues with other teams at EA that had open roles that were a strong fit. These layoffs come in the wake of EA admitting that Dragon Age: The Veilguard failed to meet the company's expectation by around 50%. That's the other thing, too. Gosh. It's like if EA wanted to save any sort of face, should have continued with the Titanfall, because people have been asking for it. No one has asked. Like, I haven't seen a big demand of, like, we need more Apex, or we need more Star Wars Jedi series. Patty Quinn says, the only Tom Clancy games I've ever played is Splinter Cell and Rainbow Six. I played some Rainbow Six. Splinter Cell, I've heard, is pretty good. So, of note, Electronic Arts push DEI policies. Yep. On the company's website, it states, we embed inclusion in our practices throughout the employee's life cycle, from how we attract talent to how we develop and retain talent to how we compensate and create a sense of belonging. All of which literally was not an issue back in the day because it was original and organic. This forced crap doesn't work. And the failure of the Dragon Age, the Veilguard, proves it, along with Concord and Dustborn. We regularly reveal our people, program, and practices with an aim to keep them free from bias. We strive to create a work environment in which employees can do their best work, from our regular engagement efforts to the ways in which we build trust that employees can raise workplace concerns, to how we are evolving to meet the needs of our globally distributed workforce. We're working together to support our people and deliver on our business code. They're working so well that they said, hey, we need to fire 300 and 400 people. Good job there. And I want to say there was a case going on that might have had a result where some guy was fired for racism, and it was because he was white. I thought I saw something like that was kind of a possibility. I might have been on Side Scrollers they were talking about it, but I think that's a case that might be going on. I'm not 100% sure. Don't quote me on that. And then Tech for Gamers also has an article here, which probably is a different, same informations, but a different take. Fans have been calling for a Titanfall revival for the longest time, so this news is heartbreaking for both the studios and its fans. Yep. Although the initial reports did not mention Titanfall, sources revealed the team was working on a Titanfall extraction shooter. This also aligns with recent rumors of a new Titanfall game being developed. As we know, R7 is what the code name was. Between the demand for more Titanfall and the desire for unique first-person shooter gameplay, the studio could have capitalized on a major gap in the market. Unfortunately, the team continues to face layoffs year after year. I know, right? Almost like they don't want to make money. And yeah, Titanfall 3 needs to be EA's priority after shift from licensed IP. This is back from March. So, yeah, like, this is absolutely foolish of them. Absolutely foolish. So that's pretty much the sad news of Titanfall not being killed off, which sucks. But we do have more article here before we call it a night. And also, I haven't done this in a while, but we'll also end off on a more uplifting note of what games were released throughout the years. We'll look at games released today and tomorrow. I'll drag that over here real quick. Well, bam. What? Sky News. Fine, whatever. So, this is absolutely hilarious. This is hilarious because we have seen big companies trying to fight off piracy, illegal streaming, all that stuff. And remember the early 2000s where you saw the you wouldn't steal a car, you wouldn't do this, so you wouldn't steal a movie. Well, guess what? You wouldn't steal a font. Famous anti-piracy campaign may have used pirated typeface. Oh my gosh, chef's kiss if this is true. This comes from Sky News. The dramatic adverts which compared pirating films to stealing cars, handbags, and televisions became a piece of pop culture history with spoofs spawned for years afterwards. Here you go. This is the font in question. A famous anti-piracy campaign from the early 2000s is in the spotlight after it appeared the font used in the adverts were pirated. Dun, dun, dun. This is absolutely amazing. The dramatic campaign compared pirating films to stealing cars. Okay, we literally just read. Why include this small subtitle when it's just going to be down here? It appears in cinemas and on DVDs around the world from 2004. But now social media users have discovered the font used in the campaign was pirated. from a typeface created by designer Just Van Rossum. Blue Sky used a rib, extracted the fonts used in one of the campaign's old PDF files, and discovered the pirated font X Band Rough was used instead of Mr. Von Rossum's license font FF Confidential. Sky News was able to replicate this process and found the same results. Uh-oh. There's no evidence to suggest that the campaign's designers oh, come on. No. Don't make up an excuse. You threatened so many people by saying, you wouldn't do this, blah, blah, blah. And now you're trying to make, we were unaware. Give me a break. There's no evidence to suggest that the campaign's designers were aware that the font was pirated, as copies of it were being widely shared at the... So what? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. The creator of the original font doesn't seem too worried, however, Mr. Von Rossum told Sky News. I had known about the illegal clone of my font before, but I didn't know that that was the one used in the campaign. The campaign has always had the wrong tone, which, to me, explains the level of fun that has been had at its expense. The irony of having used a pirated font is just precious. Boom. This right here explains the mindset of many people. And this is this is the example of how out of touch these people are, the companies, on how it just showcases that they're just mad because they're not making more money than what they think they should. And it also, again, backs up the concept that if you can find the research, they like to bury it, but it's out there, is that people who actually pirate stuff or illegally stream stuff tend to actually go and buy the actual media, because it's like more than just seeing a trailer. They're experiencing it, and then when they enjoy what they see, they'll go out and support it. They don't like to bring those topics up. They like to say those studies are biased, but they're out there. The truth is that people who do pirate stuff and who illegally stream stuff tend to actually go out and buy the actual product than tourists do. That's what they don't want to tell you. And this right here is just absolutely amazing. And even the creator of the font of an illegal clone is laughing it off. And he even said it the best. The irony of it having used a pirated font is just precious. The adverts became a piece of pop culture history, with spoofs spawned for years afterwards. In fact, if you try to go to the campaign's official URL, you will be redirected to the most famous spoof, a sketch in the sitcom It Crowd. Sky News contacted the organization behind the adverts, the UK's anti-piracy agents FACT, America's Motion Picture Association, which really is just one giant censorship group, and the Intellectual Property Office of Singapore. FACT declined to comment, saying the campaign predated anyone working at the organization. How convenient. The other two organizations did not immediately comment. Oh. So this is absolutely amazing. Chef's kiss. Mwah. It's beautiful. Could not have asked for anything better. Hilarious. Absolutely hilarious. Well, that's all the articles I have for today and my thoughts about them. So I hope you enjoyed it. Make sure to hit that like and subscribe button as we close down the show here. We're on YouTube, Rumble, and X. Eddie Quinn says, I got into the game late because I only got it for the WWE skins. Oh, is that for Fortnite? I'm sorry. Dude, I find it absolutely hilarious that Rumble Studios, who you think if any chat would show up in the live chat, it would be the Rumble chat, is not showing up. But the YouTube one is. This is hilarious. Get your crap fixed. Get your crap fixed, Rumble Studios. Oh my gosh. Copywriting fonts is gay. I don't know. I think it's hilarious. But in any case, let's check out what games were released throughout the years today, and we'll take a look at it tomorrow. Alrighty. What do we got here? Got Shining Force 3. Naruto Ninja Council 2. I think I played that game. I might have played Ninja Council 1. You got your Pikmin 2. Oh, here's a big one. Grand Theft Auto 4. Ooh, Dragon Ball Z Attack of the Saiyans. A very, very good game. I wish they would have continued this style, but very good. It's an RPG game. Usually don't see that with Dragon Ball Z games, but really good game. I'd recommend that one. That's a fun one. Rules for thee and not for me. Pretty much how it always is. Got Metal Gear Solid Peace Walker. Child of Light, I heard, is actually really good. Red Faction Complete. I've heard of Red Faction, but I don't know like if this is like the whole thing or not. R-Type Final 2. And then some other stuff there. So some solid one. Oh, Xenoblade Chronicle X, by the way, as well. Not a bad list. Not a bad list, I'd say. Let's check tomorrow, shall we? Ba-boop. Let's see. Ooh, Wild Arms. I have a full playthrough of this game on my YouTube. It might have been maybe imported over to Rumble when YouTube still allowed that to happen. But Wild Arms was a great game. Really good game. Full Throttle I'm not familiar with. Oh my goodness. Pokemon Stadium. My brother and I played the crap out of this game. I never played Pokemon Stadium 2. Super Mario Brothers Deluxe. There you go. Golden Glory, The Road to El Dorado. The Misadventures of Tron Bone. And then, oh, dude, Wild Arms 2. I need to play Wild Arms 2. Maybe that's something we could start off. I've been contemplating about maybe for more game streaming, do like Dragon Ball Z. Like I was doing that before, Dragon Ball Z based game. And then maybe like a PlayStation game. I don't know. Got a lot of stuff happening in life that I need to get situated. But dang, Wild Arms 2 planned it on the same day, like in Wild Arms. That's pretty cool, though. Oh, you got your wow, really solid games on coming out tomorrow. Resident Evil the remake for the GameCube, Sniper Elite V2, Far Cry 3, Blood Dragon, Streets of Rage 4. That was actually a pretty good game. I enjoy me a good beat 'em up game. New Pokemon Snap. I actually wanted to play this, but I never got around to getting it. And wait a minute, why is R-Type Final 2 Nintendo Switch, PC, PS4, Xbox? This was on the past one. Yeah, it's like right here. Why is it showing the same thing? Okay, Game Facts being cheap. Forsaken, the 1998 version. Dude, a lot of solid games. A lot of solid games. Alrighty, well, that's all I have for you guys tonight. Make sure to hit that like and subscribe button. Turn on notifications to get notified when I go live. We were on YouTube, Rumble, and X, trying to grow that Rumble channel. I think we're doing pretty good. Pretty good. We're at 457. I think it'd be cool to get to 500. That would be a fun one to do. But I appreciate all the support and whatnot. But yes, that is all I have for tonight. So I'm going to go ahead and sign off. Thanks again for everybody for hanging out with me tonight. Let's see. Actually, what do we have online that we could raid over on YouTube and Rumble here? The Vara is the only one that's over on YouTube here, and then Rumble. They do need to make their raid feature a tad bit better.